So I was looking on Twitter earlier on today and I saw that Frank Lampard has been given permission by Derby County to talk to Chelsea about becoming their manager next season. And I just couldn't help myself. I've gone full scumbag football manager 2019 experiment on you. And I've decided to do an experiment where we've moved Frank Lampard from Derby County to Chelsea to be their manager. And we'll see how he does. So hello, welcome to the TomFM channel. If you're new around here and you don't know who I am, my name's Tom and I make football manager videos. As you can clearly see, I suppose. If you like football, ridiculous situations, and some absolute bottle jobs, then this is the channel for you. Feel free to click subscribe. So a slight change for the normal video schedule, just because I've seen this news pop up today that Lampard might be going to Chelsea now, and they've been given permission to talk to him. I've decided to do this experiment today. What it does mean is that Lincoln Loco, that's meant to be today. We're just going to shift that to tomorrow instead, and then Thursday and Friday, Lincoln Loco episodes will continue as per usual. If you haven't yet seen the Lincoln Loco series, what we've been doing really, it's a great series that we've got going on. We've taken my local non-league club from step 8 of the English Football League system. We're trying to get them all the way to the top of the Premier League. You can either start right from the very start, or yesterday we started a brand new season, so you can join there if you want to as well. There'll be links on the top of the screen as well when I'm saying these things, so click them at your leisure. So back to the actual experiment then. Today in real life, it's the 25th of June 2019. If we look at the little time thing up here, we are at the 25th of June 2019 in-game as well. So it's up to date, accurate, and I've just moved Frank Lampard, as you can see here, to Chelsea to be their manager. To do this, all I've done is go to the in-game editor. You can buy the in-game editor from Steam. I've done that to do these kind of experiments. And once it's enabled, you can click this little pencil up here. And Frank Lampard, I've gone to him. I've clicked move to another club and I had Chelsea in there. And he moved from Chelsea, or from Derby to Chelsea, sorry. It was as simple as that. There aren't any updated leagues or transfer databases out there yet. So to get to this point, I've had to simulate a season in the future to do that. Now, what that means is Eden Hazard hadn't had his transfer to Real Madrid in-game yet. So I've done that myself. I've done the same thing with Frank Lampard there. But I've moved Eden Hazard to Real Madrid to keep with the realism. So he's gone for £100 million. I think the only discrepancy we will find between this version of the game and real life is if we look at the transfers and look at transfer history for Chelsea. So they brought in Bentaleb for £25 million and they brought in Tonali as well for £5 million rather than £10 million. It doesn't make much of a difference to us really. It's two transfers. There's not very much I can do to stop that simulating in the future and things like that. As you can see, Hazard has gone to Real Madrid for £100 million as he did in real life. There should be the transfer embargo coming in for Chelsea very soon as well. So it all should be sorted by now, I think. Now, all we've got to do is simulate a couple of seasons into the future and just see how Frank gets on as Chelsea manager. Now, simulating forward a season to get to this point, he did actually get sacked as a manager of Derby County, so make of that what you will. He's not obviously got the best stats and attributes here to be a manager, especially at a top club. Football manager doesn't think he's going to do a good job, I don't think. These attributes don't really stack up to your Pep Guardiolas, your Sarris, for example, either. So it's going to be difficult for him. Hopefully he stays in the job. Hopefully he does a good job. And if it all works out here well for him, hopefully it works out for him in real life if he does go to Chelsea. Anyway, I'm going to go and simulate a season forward. But before we do that, it would be great to have you on board the TomFM channel. So feel free to press subscribe and drop a like on the video. It would be really appreciated. So we've done it. We've simulated a season as Frank Lampard as the manager of Chelsea. And if you're a bit eagle-eyed, you'll have already seen the outcome. It's just here. Just here. Available jobs. Chelsea. Let's check this one out. Right then, so Chelsea currently got no manager. They've finished 5th in the Premier League, which isn't bad to be fair. 5th is still pretty decent, but obviously not good enough for them. So they've managed to sack Frank Lampard. Let's check this one out. So I think the first thing to do is to look at Lampard himself and look at, let's look at milestones here. Manager of Chelsea. From the start to the end of the season pretty much. Sacked right at the end, the 12th of the 5th. So that's pretty much the end of the season. So it was finishing 5th. That just wasn't good enough for Chelsea. In a similar sort of situation to perhaps this season, maybe. Not quite the same situation, of course, because Sarri's done better as well as winning things. So he's had the whole season then. We know we can look at all of this and know it's Frank Lampard in charge. Let's have a look at how he's done going through here. You know, decent result to start off, losing to Arsenal there. I suppose we've got to look at those sort of Big Six fixtures, games against other sides in the Big Six. Champions League, lost to Juventus, but I think, you know, that's not too bad because they beat Dinamo there and they lost to Bayer Leverkusen there as well, actually. So perhaps it was Champions League that sort of let them down as well. They drew with Man City here as well. They beat Bayer Leverkusen in the second leg and then lost to Juventus again, but beat Dinamo. So actually they did go through the Champions League group, I think. I think that's progressing second in their group. They beat Manchester United, to be fair. They beat Liverpool. They've done quite well, to be fair. They've not really lost many games at all. It's mostly cup games they're losing. I can't really see many Premier League games they've lost, apart from that loss to Tottenham there. They did actually progress through the Champions League group stages into that first knockout round. And although they beat Milan in the first leg, they lost 2-0 in the second leg. So they got knocked out in the Champions League first knockout round, which obviously isn't acceptable for Chelsea. I suppose at the end of the season, they've lost the odd Premier League game to Tottenham, to Man United and to Leeds, who are, I suppose, well, not Leeds, but obviously United and Tottenham will be rivals. But I don't think Lampard's done a bad job there. I think that's really, really harsh on Lampard, getting rid of him. Let's have a look at the squad. Like, how many goals are they scoring and things like that? I mean, obviously Hazard's gone. Luka Jovic has signed, which I don't understand why Luka Jovic has signed for them, because they should have a transfer embargo. This is put into Football Manager, so I'm not quite sure why they're ignoring this transfer embargo, because Callum Wilson's there as well. So they have made transfers, which I don't quite understand how it's happened, because that seems to circumnavigate the inbuilt transfer embargo. So I'm not quite sure what that one's about. I do apologise for that. That should just be in the game as standard, but it's clearly not. They actually went on to make quite a few transfers this season, which shouldn't have happened. Again, I'm not quite sure why that's happened, but it just has. We'll ignore the transfer side of things. It's not a deal breaker, really. All Chelsea actually have is one season with a transfer embargo, so it's not that detrimental, really, having to make a few transfers in this version of the game. It's not too bad. And either way, they've not done that well with Frank Lampard in charge, so actually that does kind of show that perhaps he has let them down a little bit as well. It was Luka Jovic and Christian Pulisic with the goals, though. Callum Wilson chips in with 10, Gedson Fernandes with 7, Ben Taleb with 6. So actually, it's the new players who are getting the goals, so perhaps actually without these signings, they might have done a lot worse, and if that had happened, he would have been sacked earlier. So it's, to be fair, I feel like it has been harsh on Frank Lampard, but he has spent a lot of money and he's not got the results. Now, I presume this is kind of what his formation was, because they wouldn't have played any more games after he got sacked. So this is the kind of formation he was going for, which, to be fair, it's just a standard formation, really. There's nothing too much to say about that. I think pretty much everyone uses that at the moment. I use that in my own saves and things like that, so it's a pretty standard one. Anyway, he's been sacked after one season. That's not particularly fair. Now, I would go back to the start and just do another one, like attempt number 2, see how he does a second time, but I have realised I didn't save it. So we've now got to think of something else, and what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just move him back to Chelsea, and we're going to give him another season at Chelsea to see how he gets on. So we're just going to move him to Chelsea, as if he didn't get sacked in the first place. So he's back at the club now. He's got all these players once again. He's got another season to try and do something. So we're going to see what happens in a second season, and we'll go from there. It's also worth pointing out that about 5 years ago, in Football Manager 2014, everyone online would post memes and stuff saying, oh, look, we've got Frank Lampard here in charge of Derby or Chelsea. We've got Gerrard in charge of Rangers. This is crazy. This would never happen. But 5 years down the line in real life, this is happening. And I'm now in Football Manager predicting what would happen if one of these players actually goes to one of these clubs as a manager. It's like Football Manager Inception. So here we are then, another year in the future, and slightly more promising signs, because as you can see here on the available jobs section, nothing says Chelsea. So that's pretty good going. We're going to go and find Chelsea instead by searching for them. Chelsea, 6th in the Premier League, so he's not done as well as last season if he stayed in the job. He's not actually manager either anymore. Okay, it's not looking good for old Frank, is it? So if we go on to Chelsea's manager list then, obviously Frank Lampard had his first stint, and then a few days after being sacked, was re-signed as manager. It's kind of similar to the whole Charlton situation with their manager, this Lee Bowyer. I swear one day he was announced as sacked, and the next day he was like, no, I've signed a new contract. That was a bit weird, but similar sort of situation here, as Frank Lampard only stays in the job for another 7 months, or nearly 7 months, 6.5 months I'd say there really. Didn't even make it until Christmas. What's going on here then? So the set of fixtures we're looking at are the first game of the season against Tottenham, all the way down to this Bournemouth game here, actually. That's the 4th when he got sacked. So we're looking at these sets of fixtures here, and to be fair, they've been ridiculously harsh on him once again, because he loses to Tottenham on the first day of the season, but then doesn't lose a game until West Ham, and then doesn't lose another Premier League game until Blackburn there. Then they lose a game to Wolves, and then that Bournemouth game was the final straw. So he only lost, 4 games in the Premier League, and that was enough to get him sacked before Christmas, which is mental. He lost 1 game in the Europa League against Feyenoord in the group stages there. He lost the Carabao Cup 4th round against Man United there. So, I mean, he's been very unlucky to get sacked there, I think. And if we look down the fixtures, Deschamps has actually done worse. He's lost more. He's also lost 4 Premier League games as well. Lost an FA Cup, lost for knockout stages of the Europa League as well. So really, Didier Deschamps, he should be sacked as well. Frank brought in 3 players, Will Hughes, Lucas Digne and Yannick Carrasco. I mean, they're not the world-class signing, I suppose, that perhaps Chelsea would be expecting, but they're decent signings nonetheless. Still with that old 4-1-4-1 formation as well, so it's not like that's changed either. That's still stayed pretty much the same. It's a weird one. Personally, I think they've been very tough on Frank Lampard twice, but according to Football Manager, he will get sacked, okay? He is going to get sacked, even if he completes the season or not. He's getting sacked. And the disappointing thing is, I would agree with it in real life as well. I don't think he is going to last at Chelsea for a long time if he does go there. Of course, he's not actually gone there. He's only been given permission to talk. That's the news we've been given today. He's been given permission to talk to Chelsea by Derby. But I don't think he's going to last a long time, personally. I don't think he's ready for it. He's lost in the playoffs at Derby County in his first season as a manager, which, okay, that's good. He's got to the playoffs in his first season as a manager, but he's inherited a Derby County side who are a decent side. They've been in and around the playoffs the past few seasons. If he didn't get them there, that would have been putting question marks on him, really. If he does take the step up and goes to be the Chelsea manager, again, he's got a good team around him. It's a team that's finished 3rd in the Premier League this season. Yes, they've not got Hazard next season, but it's still a very, very good side that is capable of top 4, in my opinion. However, if he doesn't get that top 4, I think he will be sacked after a season, and that's the disappointing truth of it with Chelsea. Look at Roberto Di Matteo. He won them the Champions League. 6 months later, he was sacked from Chelsea, and I just can't see Abramovich changing his point of view or his stance on managers just because it's Frank Lampard that's come in. I think if he does take the manager's job, Frank Lampard, and he doesn't win a title in their first season or win like a Europa League, even winning Europa League or a Champions League, obviously, Sarri did that, but he's gone. Obviously, he was given permission to talk to another club and he was sort of forced out. I think that's kind of how it might have been played out. He didn't want to stay there. He was kind of forced out as well. But Abramovich at Chelsea is just so demanding. I don't think Lampard's going to actually reach that. And just like we've seen in this experiment, he gets sacked. And I think that's what will happen in real life if he does get the job. I don't think he'll last 2 seasons there at the most. I do think the Chelsea job is a poison chalice. If he does get the job, I hope he does extremely well because that'd be really, really good for English football and Chelsea as a team. I just can't see it happening though. Football Manager can't see it happening. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section what you think about Frank Lampard potentially becoming the Chelsea manager. So if you've enjoyed today's video, then please do stick around for more. There's going to be a subscribe button in the middle of the screen right now. And then you've got a choice of 2 videos to watch. You can either watch another experiment or you can go and watch the Lincoln Loco series where we're taking Lincoln United from step 8 all the way up, hopefully, to the Champions League. So I'll see you in one of those videos. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.